Yes, yes. Welcome to another episode of Motherfucking Valuable Perspectives. Man, I'm excited for our guest today. This brother has dropped, I think he said four powerful NFT projects, really has been in the space for a while, has had some successful drops. So I'm really excited to introduce Calvin Troy to the channel. Welcome, Calvin. Welcome.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it. Love being here. Excited to get down to business with you and talk about what we've done over with the camels, the monsters, the baby camels, the shadows, and more to come. Very excited.
Yeah, we got a lot of heat to drop for y'all, so stay tuned. So, Kelvin, we were kind of talking right before we turned the cameras on and everything, just about some of your background. But why don't you kind of share just like where you come from and how you ended up getting into NFTs?
Excellent. So my ethnicity and my background, um, I'm born and raised in Ireland, but my dad came over to Ireland during the 80s to play basketball. He's from Lakewood, New Jersey. He's a Rutgers Hall of Famer. He's the top, I think, 100 athletes in the millennium, up to the millennium, in the shore as well. So my dad in Ireland's kind of famous. So if you Google my name, Kelvin Troy, he's the first thing that comes up. There's a great little basketball documentary on him called We Got Game. And my whole life, I've been into sports and athletics. And I went away for 2 years as a missionary in Africa. And when I came back, I got into business. I was trained by Davey Paulson in Africa. He's a former president of Bank of America. So while here in Ireland, I've set up a few businesses, logistics, uh, yeah, franchising, and then recently I got into the entertainment business. So people have heard the story in my communities as well about how I converted from the entertainment industry into NFTs. I've been working with Lionforge Entertainment or Animation, excuse me, for nearly a year now on a really special project. It's an animation movie that we're doing, and it's about a black princess that raps, rather than the usual singing, which is great, princess. This is a kind of a new take on the princess story, and
Dope.
yeah, back in March, I've been researching NFTs for since nearly a year now. But in
Mhm.
March, we were approached by one of the top eight distributors in for theaters and cinemas across the U.S. And they wanted to put 20 million to fund the movie. Um, and I was excited. This is like my first big movie that I'm doing. And essentially, we got down to contract time, and this guy said, "Hey, listen, we'll give you 1% residuals after we make back 60 million, but we want your all your rights for free, basically." So I rejected the offer, of course. And the guy told me, just because you're black, doesn't mean you're the only person that can make this movie. And I agree with that. Anyone can go make that movie, but at the same time, there's cultural nuances that I'm not fully familiar with. But Lionforge Animation, which is the biggest black-owned animation studio in the U.S., I've said to you before we got on, they won an Oscar for Hair Love,
Mhm.
and they most definitely know the nuances in black culture. So I we rejected the offer. We're still making the movie, but I felt like the distribution industry, there's this middleman that's stopping creatives from, I guess, living their dream. And NFTs, I have found, is kind of a bridge directly to the consumer. So in my mind, we don't need distributors anymore. We can now distribute directly to those that want to watch it. So that's how I got
Mhm.
into NFTs. And one of the first projects that I was involved with the Marte Productions, is a project called Antara. So we dropped the promotional NFT for that, which was Arabian Camels.
Mhm.
Now, the Arabian Camels um, was dropped as a promotional tool where everyone would get a free copy of the movie and different perks to go with that film Antara. So when the community turned around and said, "Hey, we want more utility now," because we were very new to the space,
Was
we
that your
decided
first drop
that was
out
our
of all
first
your
drop.
drops? Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was the first drop that we did back in May. So
And
we've learned a
so,
lot since
question,
then.
yeah, I want to dive a little bit into that one. Where what did you learn from that drop, right? Since this was your first drop, I'm curious on like what did you expect, and then what happened, and then what did you learn from that?
Wow, great question. So one of the big things for us, we had IT guys lined up to do the drop, and it was like right before, like 2 weeks before we were going to drop, they had to pull out. They didn't have space; they were booked up, and especially at that time, things were going crazy after the Bored Apes.
Right, right.
I had just got a Bored Ape, I think 3 weeks before we launched the Camels,
Mm-hmm.
um, and completely inspired by what they were doing, their style, and we wanted to do something similar to what the Bored Apes had done. So one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made was dropping all the camels, all 12,000 of the camels onto OpenSea and allowing people to pick what camel they wanted. We thought hey, let's let people pick and choose their camels. Now we've sold like 9,000 today. We have this story of a camel kidnapper who took 3,000 of them. Instead of burning them, we have them there in a separate wallet. But at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you know, people were like, hey, we want a random in for this. We live and we learn. We push forward with the community. Community is still strong. We've got
Nice.
nearly 3,000 holders. Very active Asian community.
Mm-hmm.
Massive Asian community. I think nearly half of all our camels are actually owned out in Asia. Um,
How do you think that happened? Like, how did the marketing get out to certain people? Like, how did the word spread about this drop?
yeah, I don't know how it happened. We Dingaling bought I think around 400 camels. So he's one of our big supporters in the beginning, and he's even you know he's bred his camels as well in our breeding program that we dropped there a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so with the community out there in Asia, I really think it was just because I believe like the white camel was a symbol of one of these NFT communities out there. So when they heard about Arabian camels, I believe it's the AWSB group. They,
Mm.
to become a member of their community, you actually have to have an Arabian camel. So you have,
Mm.
2,000 plus people out there holding these camels, and it's a really big thing in Hong Kong. And the creator of the entire project has a big PR thing, hopefully happening out in Asia soon as well. So we're going to have a lot of movement there for the camel community, and a lot of news on the movie as well coming up. So we're super excited to be sharing that.
So did that happen? The community that you need a camel to be a part of, did that happen with your organization, or was that completely separate?
Yeah, that was completely separate. They just love the camel
Wow.
so much out there. They're like, yeah, if you want to be a part of our community, you need an Arabian camel. So we're working
Wow.
very hard to make sure that they're represented in our future drops. If you get a chance to look at any of the baby camels, you'll see that there's like different Chinese backgrounds as well out there for that community. Um,
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, really, really great guys. We've got the elite Bored Apes from the Bored Ape Hong Kong group as well, who have bought a bunch of camels, who are a massive power out in Hong Kong. And they're big fans and supporters of ours as well, and they've aped into all of our projects. Now, I'll say a lot of there are a small group of apes that aren't fans of me and and of the camels, just because we were so close to I guess the camel drop. Something I actually done is I gave away a Bored Ape to someone who would join the Discord. So if you join the Discord, you're in the running to win a Bored Ape. And we
Mm-hmm.
also gave 2,000 Bored Apes a camel. So something like
Mm.
20% of all Bored Apes own a camel as well. So
That's
we're
cool.
yeah, very very much inspired by what the Bored Apes have done. We're nowhere near their level, but we've got a lot of love for the apes.
What are some other things that you saw the apes do that were inspiring to you? What did you like what they did?
Yeah, I think they have a very like they are the strongest community out there. They work thick together. If one guy says, "Hey, let's all raise our floor to this price," like look, I'm a cheetah ape, so the cheetah apes have like we're raising our floor to 420, and you'll see that like there's majority of the cheetah apes are at 100 ETH. There's
Hmm.
very few below that. So,
Hmm.
very strong communities. Something that they've done, which should definitely be implemented in other NFT projects, is to kind of have this gang-like mentality within the NFT drop itself. You have the Mafia
Hmm.
apes, you have the Cheetah apes, you have uh, the DMT apes. So there's all this competition within the apes anyway. So
Right.
it's all good fun. I
Mhm.
don't think it's too serious, but yeah, it just adds to the craziness of it all.
It reminds me of hip hop, right? Because in hip hop, battles are very important. It's kind of like how even hip hop was started in some ways,
Yeah,
like crews on stage battling other crews. And at the end of the day, at least in the beginning, and it's still supposed to be like that, it is all love. It is all about the art, but the competition is also very real, right? And it's like
yeah,
50 Cent talks about this in one of his books, and he talks about how uh, competition is such a big inspiration for him, and how was it the Greek, how they created the Olympics and how they honored the competition so much that even during battles they would let the athletes like cross the battlefield without killing them, because like the Olympics were that like special,
wow,
like. And so I think that concept inside of NFTs is so powerful, because look at how big it is inside of hip hop. Like, who, look at even Kanye and Drake, how they're doing that. And it's just
yeah,
like it's constant, right? And but then
yeah.
that does lift the visibility of everybody, because people like love conflict, and it just makes things
People love
relevant.
conflict, man. They love it. They thrive off it, as you know.
Mhm.
So it's exciting to see. It's exciting to watch. I'm definitely more of a sideline. I'll watch from the sidelines. I don't get into it much,
Yeah.
um, but
You're
it's
not one of
definitely
the
entertaining.
gangsters with it.
No, man, no, not in Ireland. We're very much pub going people, and you go to the pub and you sit down and you relax. Very easy going. Very easy
Ain't no,
going.
ain't nothing wrong with that. So you've been a part, of this NFT community, making projects. What has been the best part for you so far of the whole thing?
Oh man, meeting new people in the space and just hearing their ideas and getting their feedback has been amazing. Like as I said, we would never have thought of doing camel breeding or the camel racing that we're dropping tonight. So
Tell
there's
us
all
about the camel racing.
camel racing, yeah. So it's inspired by Zed Run. You're gonna
Hmm.
have six camels on a track. Each camel will race around the track. We have billboards in the back, advertising different NFT projects and different individuals in the space. These camels they race. You don't know who's going to win until the very end. But you need a camel and you need a jockey. So not
Hmm.
only is it like, hey, you have that Arabian camel to buy a ticket to watch or to participate, sorry. You also need a baby camel or a monster from Monster Rehab. So it's kind of upselling the community. Um,
Smart.
but again, it's just to, I guess, have these communities combine and to grow together rather than by themselves. So with
Hmm.
the camel racing, it's built in the sandbox, and we
Hmm.
have an amazing developer who's done everything for us, and we're working with Land Vault. Land Vault is such an amazing group, and the leaders out there are amazing. Um, we've teamed up with them, and we're with them in all the metaverse adventures that we're having with Arabian Camels, Monster Rehab, Order of Shadows. So everything that we're doing has kind of a metaverse uh, utility attached to it.
It's amazing. I'm a big part of Zed Run. I bought 3 Genesis horses. Now I have
Wow.
like 15, from breeding. And yeah, it's like the gamification of NFTs and the utility, and even, to me, what I think is really fascinating is the concept of passive income generating
Yeah.
from NFTs. Like, my horse is generating me a certain amount of income every month, and I can like either invest that back into Zed or, into other NFT projects. So tell us about, like, is there that type of gamification? Is it like play to earn?
Great
How
question.
are the gamifications on the back end of that?
Yeah, so we're selling 210 tickets, and 70% of the ticket sales are going back into a prize pool. So those that win races get prize money, and then the final winner, there will be a massive face off of all the winners, and the I guess the champion of champions will take something like 40% of the pot. So that's how I guess that's the play to earn part to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now it will all be pre-recorded, and we're going to do this every single week. We're going to have racing, and people can buy tickets. So a big shout out to the community for being big supporters and wanting to race their camels and wanting the utility and coming up with just great ideas and giving us feedback. And because we were so much more focused on the movie that's in pre-production and being made. Um, we thought, oh, just a movie utility would be cool. Um, People want to do things now. They don't want to, wait 2 or 3 years for the movies to drop. So we're super grateful to the community for, yeah, giving us feedback and working with us.
I love that. So how do you see the future integration of your NFTs with the movie? I'm very curious to like, how do you see that all playing out? Like the movie drops, the people have NFTs, like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna be, are they like, obviously they're incentivized to watch it, they're incentivized to talk about it, so I'm fascinated by this new approach of marketing through NFTs and how you're looking at it.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So NFT Media Box, even though we're not producing the movie, that's being done by Celtic Entertainment, and they have the likes of Tarsum Singh involved and Stuart Sutherland, um, all producing this and directing it. So when that movie drops out, throughout the time, once it starts production, camel holders will get behind the scenes, like VIP access to the movie. So they'll get to
Mm-hmm.
talk to cast and crew. Behind the scenes, there'll be uh, the actual camel that they own will be shown in the credits of the movie. So,
Nice.
like these are all the things that we've thought of way in advance. People will get a free copy of the movie. So
Mhm.
that's the movie utility, and there's also I don't have all the paperwork in front of me, but if you have a camel, you also have an opportunity to be in the movie. So we're going to pick a select few camel holders to maybe be in the movie and get your head cut off, or ride on a camel, or it's an Arabian themed movie. In fact, now I'm not the head producer on this, head creator, so I don't want to like make it sound bad, but I'll give you a little bit of insight on the movie itself. And
Mhm.
Tara is about it's a movie about a black slave that grew up in Saudi Arabia as a slave, but who won his freedom um, through heroics. So
Mm.
this is a true story. He's known in the Middle East. This is pre-Islam, as one of the greatest poet knights in Arabian history. So his poetry was held in such high regard. It actually hung in Mecca. So I'm not Muslim, but my business partner um, and he's in all the background on the character, and he's done an
Mm.
amazing job with the script, and they've gotten script writers. So the that like it's an amazing story, it's an inspiring story, and what's so interesting, it's a true story. Like when you think of a black superhero, you think Black Panther, but Black Panther, you know, isn't real. He was created by a white guy. Where Antara literally was a hero, was a knight,
Mm.
was black. I mean, because he's real, it's someone that can be inspiring to people. And we don't have a lot of people like that. When you think of these supernatural heroes, almost you think of Hercules, you think of Achilles, where Antara was an actual real person.
That's amazing. And just the access that NFT holders are getting, like seeing themselves in a movie. I think personally that you guys are a part of revolutionizing this industry, right? Like
Yeah,
it's it's really exciting. I think that we see it in games right now, right? So it's like you're kind of doing it with the camel racing. It's like buying the NFT before the game even existed. And then it's like
yeah,
now because I'm a holder of this NFT, I can play the game and make money. And now like in the movie, same thing. It's like buying this NFT, getting the movie, getting access, potentially like being in the movie. I just think that to me it's obvious that all these things are going to just continue to explode, and it's
yeah,
it's really dope how you're just at the you're very much at the front end of it, and in some ways kind of like creating what will be almost the standard in some ways, and kind of figuring out how to do things, which I think is really exciting. So why don't you tell us about, how you see the future of this playing out a little bit where it comes to NFTs and entertainment, and how you see those things merging together.
That's a great question. So with Arabian Camels, that was for a pro for that's for the Amarte Productions. That's for Celtic Entertainment. We just did the NFT for that movie, so I can't really say that's like my project, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first project in the space was Monster Rehab, and this is where I guess I believe it's kind of revolutionary, where we bring an idea or an IP to a group of people, to a community, and say, hey, listen, you have an opportunity to help fund this IP to create this comic book about these dysfunctional monsters. So, Monster Rehab is about a vampire that's scared of blood, a hairless werewolf, and a vegan zombie, and they go to this rehab because yeah, they're not what they should be, and it's a comedy style Rick and Morty Adult Swim cartoon. We're
Mm,
doing the pilot episode, and all this had been funded from people buying the NFT.
that's
So
amazing.
it's basically like crowdsourcing while giving back something unique to the community. We did a treasure hunt. We've done weekly games and events. Next month, there's going to be the first pages of the comic book dropping. We're going to have camel baby monsters. So you're going to be able to breed your camels and your monsters together to create these basically monstrous baby camels. So um, yeah, even though they've the community have funded this, I guess this kind of Kickstarter for the comic book and the TV show, um they are getting comic book for free. They're getting to watch the pilot episode, and maybe even down the road we can give them a percentage of the actual series if it gets picked up, and even give them an opportunity to fund the whole series, along with
Hmm.
people outside of the community. So there's a lot there that we can do. Um, for that, not a lot of people know about Monster Rehab. It was literally just people within our community. Our goal was to sell 5,000. We sold 5,000, 368. So super great project, great artwork, really proud of it, and yeah, just excited to see the artwork and everything to on the TV show developing, that will drop next month.
Oh, man, so many questions. So one of the things that I've been really like paying a lot of attention to, and it feels like this is kind of moving into that direction, is DAOs, right?
Yeah,
Decentralized autonomous organizations. And so I'm curious because it feels like some of these, it's even like that group that bought the camels. It's like it feels like there's somewhat of a DAO, even if it's not official, right? And it's just
yeah,
like there's all these things that are kind of galvanizing around communities, right? Like the monster rehab. It's like you have people who own this monster rehab. They're going to be a part of the future of building this IP, the show. Um, and it, and then you have these questions like, okay, who's doing what, right? Who, and like how are we all deciding what's happening? And I think I'm really curious to just like, what do you think about DAOs? Do you see yourself integrating these things into DAOs? Just kind of curious for our audience to hear your take on all that.
yeah. I am interested in, and I need to do more research on it. To be honest with you, I've seen what Beanie's been doing. I think it's incredible. He's a master at making these amazing drops with the that add real value, like you know like Ethereum value to these drops.
Mhm,
So I'd be interested in looking at his models and seeing how he does it, for things like the TV shows and comic books
mhm,
and things like that moving forward. But at the same time, when you're working with, if you want to get something on Netflix, you kind of have to sell it to them. So how will that affect then the actual holders? And there are things that when we get to that point with Monster Rehab, I'll be able to better understand how we
mhm.
can implement that for future drops. Um, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, it's so early and I'm still doing a lot of research. I think that there's a lot of solutions, right? So it's like part of the DAO could be, you know, figuring out like how the release of it's going to be. So it's like it doesn't always have to be controlling of everything. Like the DAO could just like basically vote on one part of it, and you have a whole other team that is centralized, that is kind of
Yeah,
handling things, right? So it, yeah, I think there's so many different ways to do it. I just see this whole space exploding. Like people kept talking about it, like first NFTs, then DAOs, and I'm like, why do people keep saying that? And I finally had this aha moment where I think we're gonna just not want to be in companies in the future, and like starting a company will most likely be started as a DAO. So I
yeah.
think that like you're heading in that direction, and so many of the things you're doing, they're almost like already DAO like, just without the formal organization and distribution of
Decentralized
like,
part of it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
I think for me especially, it's just getting the right people onto the team to kind of handle that, because I'm not
hmm,
experienced enough in that, and I would hate to, yeah, screw it up is the best way to
yep,
say it. So
yep,
I love as I've seen this with other drops, what they've done with DAOs. Even the Bulls on the Block have created a DAO as well.
hmm,
Um, I'm super interested though, because we have Carl Reed, who's the co-founder of Lineforge. He's developing Monster Rehab. He's doing the comic book. We've got Matt Wayne as well, who's the writer on that project. So at the end of the month, we're going to have the script, the show Bible, pages of the comic to show off. Having um, their involvement in making the TV show, getting that to Amazon or Netflix, and then hopefully, yeah, selling that show, or turning around and figuring out, well, how can we implement, our own streaming service, and how can we give back to the community and have them have some type of ownership over a streaming platform themselves? Can you imagine having an NFT, which makes you part owner of a streaming platform? I get that it would be incredible. So there's just a lot
hmm,
of things we need to look at, and to get you know someone experienced like a Beanie involved with creating something like that. But it's just the space is so young; it's difficult to find and to find people, but also to find people you can trust and work with long term on those. Because man, there's a lot of shady people in this, and that's one of the reasons. Like I started off as MasterBuZ, didn't give my identity out just because I don't want people like seeing where I live or sending nasty toxic stuff to my house.
right,
So I kept myself anonymous. And then what happened with the fatal females and the three Russian guys that were running that project who pretended to be three black women? I said, you know what? I'm just gonna say who I am. People want to get to know me, they can. I've got nothing to hide. So it was just super important to that, yeah, if I'm going to be doing business with people in this space, that I know who they actually are. And I think that's something that we need to be aware. And it's completely fine if someone wants to stay anonymous, or if you want to buy things and be anonymous, that's cool. But if we want to go mainstream, we need to show who we are, because it's going to be very difficult to go mainstream without having real professional people. um I guess moving forward, like a Gary V, like look what Gary V has done to the space.
hmm. It's so interesting that you say that. I think specifically, both of us being multiracial,
Yeah,
being black, it's like it's interesting because I feel like um there's a lot of racism and impacts of racism that still exist, right? And so and I specifically here in America, there's still
yeah,
a large impact. People who has access to capital, who has access to good education, these things are very much reflective of race, right? So now that we're moving to this world where a lot of people, because race is becoming a topic, and people of color, women, the LGBTQ community are now rising to more power. It's my observation that people don't want to talk about race. And now, even
mm,
though race used to be a big topic for even white people, right? It's like putting signs out, like race was a big issue, like,
yeah,
and now it's like, oh, it doesn't benefit us as white people to talk about race. So let's make it a non thing, where it's like, I don't see your race. Race doesn't matter. We're all humans. And it's like, I agree with you universally, but we still live in a world because of what has happened that now
Yeah.
race is still very important. And so, people coming out like you mentioned, like to take three black women's identity and not be black, and to have people think I'm investing in a black woman's project because I want to uplift black people because of the historical
Yeah.
context of racism. You start seeing why like it is important for us to be able to show our faces if people are going to say, I'm going to try to use my capital to correct what has been wrong, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like you can't blame somebody today for what happened in the past. But I think there can be an expectation of like, well, how are we all going to try to make things right now that we're here,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yeah, you weren't a slave owner and maybe you're not racist, but how are you helping now that you have benefited off of these things, right? And so I think that it's really interesting to think about kind of like this NFT space and some people being anonymous and just like what happens within that. Yeah, and just like people, having apes as their avatar, and like in some ways we're kind of removing our identity, but then in other ways the narrative of our identity is very important when it comes to provenance as well, right? Because
Mm.
we are still here living in the real world, and these racial constructs do still exist. So I'm
Yeah.
just curious on kind of like where do you think that's going to move in the future, as far as how can NFTs help people of color, and how can allies be a part of that movement in your opinion?
Well, they most definitely helped me, man. Like it's been a huge help for me. Like I went into the space. I don't think people knew that there was like I'm a mix as I'm a biracial black dude living in Ireland. I know people knew I was living in Ireland, but maybe from my voice they couldn't tell that that there's a bit of color there. I even went into a Twitter space the other day with Patrick, and there was this black lady who was speaking, and she was talking about everything that was wrong in the space, and that black people need to have more opportunities. And I wanted to know, and I wanted to know how I can help, and like what can I do to help? Because I didn't say I was black. I went in and said, hey, what can
Mm,
I do to help? And she just said very plainly, like just go and say, put up a Twitter space and say, do what Patrick's doing basically. Put up a Twitter space, say, hey, I'm a creator of these different projects. Here's what I did to be successful, and kind of what we're
mm,
doing right now in the space.
mhm,
Here's who I contacted. This is what you need to launch an NFT project. And I mean, I didn't even think that would be helpful to people, but it would be. So I think with like
mhm.
things like DAOs, um, problem with going on YouTube and trying to learn about DAOs, or like who do you go to learn about DAOs? Like I don't
There's
know.
this guy
Yeah.
Cooper. I'm gonna tell you because there's one guy, and he is just like the master. I think he's a part of like 60 DAOs. So his name is Cooper Turley, Cooperley. I'm gonna try to get him on this channel, but honestly, if you just YouTube, Google DAOs culture and community ownership with Cooper Turley, I've been sending that to all of my friends, all of my business partners, and that video was one of the things that kind of like put some of the puzzle pieces that were missing into
Mm,
place. And he makes it very simple the way he talks about it,
yeah.
the way he's a part of it. You're like, okay, someone's a part of 60 DAOs. Imagine if you were a part of 60 companies, and I think that even just like processing that question helps you understand like how powerful a DAO is, because if you can be a part of 60 DAOs realistically, then what does that mean for the future of business, right? If you think about like the average investment banker, they're investing in 60 plus companies, so it's like they already have that ability to have equity pieces and other things. But we,
Yeah.
the people who are human capital, right, who might have more human capital, that then financial capital, how do they do the same thing, right? How are they a part of all these different projects so that there's a potential upside one day, to build wealth, right? And so I think that's the really interesting thing about DAOs, is that it's one of the most effective and efficient ways to bring together human capital and to coordinate the whole thing.
Wow, that's amazing. Please send me the link to that, bro. I'll look that up and I'll watch it.
Awesome. I'm gonna
Learn
actually
from it.
send it. I'll send it in the chat right now. So you got it. But yeah, brother, one of the things that you just mentioned that I wanted to ask you before we close out is, you were talking about like you going on to Twitter Spaces and explaining, some of the things that you did. So for our audience, what are some tips if someone wants to launch a successful NFT drop and have a successful post drop, right? And you have your primary and you have your secondary. What are some tips that you've learned, that would help them with their drop and pushing it after it drops?
You know what? I found that doing things for free for people can get you very far in this space. So I bought two or three board apes and when the board apes launched, maybe like a week after they launched, just as they were exploding. So I started doing like gifts for people, taking their apes and asking, "Hey, can I do a GIF of your ape for you?" Put a gold chain on the ape, make them flash different colors. And I literally did maybe 150 of these. So I had 150 apes that had my back when I said, "Hey guys,
Mm,
I'm opening a Discord. I'm going to launch my
mhm,
own NFT project. Can you hype it for me? Can you, ape in for me?" So these guys joined the Discord. Some became moderators. I did some we did some interviews with different YouTubers as well, and things just it blew up because I went out of my way to do things for free for people.
mhm,
And later they came in and they held me out for free as well. So that was a huge help to me in this space. It's, don't let people take advantage of you. I mean, people, they're sending me like 1 or 2 ETH for just doing a gift that took me, half an hour to do. And obviously these guys had a lot of money. And I was like, it's even more inspired by people in the space who are just so kind.
right.
um, made those gifts. I was able to, do a giveaway for a board ape. Got a lot of people into a lot of people into the Discord, and we also gave a certain amount of ape holders free NFTs. So
You said what,
it,
3,000?
2000. Yeah, we gave 2000. I think
2,000.
1,500 about actually picked up the Arabian Camel NFT, and try not to be greedy in the space is what I would say. There's enough
Very
money there
nice.
for everyone. There's a lot of great people you can work with. So if you want to, it's essentially networking. Just go out there and network with people. Network with the right people. I mean, you don't want to go into an NFT project and network with people that just have no interest in like have no influence or no interest in pumping another project. So
Mhm.
I would definitely recommend going into strong unified discords and communities that will have people there that with influence that would be willing to help.
Mm, that's great advice. And then after you launch, what were some things that you've learned that you've done right, that you might have done
Yeah.
differently?
So we have an amazing artist, Tom Martin, the Undead Wizard. He's been the artist for all of our projects. So most important thing, find a great artist,
Mhm.
who's willing to communicate, who's just an inspiring person to work with. We've got an amazing generative art guy, IT guy as well, in Thomas Sin. He was the guy who kind of generated the all the images on the IT side.
Kind of doing the JSON.
Exactly, yeah. All the metadata and everything like that. Great IT guys in 11. And most importantly, my head mod Lulu, Louise Dunbar, she is just like on there 24 hours a day, speaking to people. You just need some great mods, people that
How did
are.
you attract her?
Yeah, you know what? So with Louise, I've known Louise about 4 years. I know her from real life. We play a lot of Rainbow Six together, Call of Duty,
Nice.
and yeah, she's really bad at video games. She's actually the worst person I've ever seen play video games. Shout out to Louise. So I just said to her one day, like, Louise, I need that female touch in the space because, man, women are so much better with people. I'm not trying to be sexist here, but
That's
women are
true.
better with people than men
Yep.
are. They just know how to connect better. And
They're
Louise
more
came in there,
compassionate,
more
that
compassionate, everything. They're
I,
just better at everything, man.
I look at it like they're the nurturers, right? Like we come
Yeah.
out of the womb into a woman's hands, and so they're good at nurturing. That's their nature for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Louis came into that Discord, and people even said, you could see the like Arabian camel floor rise when she came in, and just like the effect that she had. So I just have an amazing team, man. I'm just very grateful for the team that I have and the
Mm,
hard work that they put in every day. So, find a group of people that believe in you, that you believe in, and just go for it. Just knock it out of the park.
I love that. It's great advice. Make sure you have a solid team. So, Kelvin, how can people get in contact with you? How can they support what you're doing? How do y'all connect?
Wow, just head to at Metadisciple. It's not Metadisciple, it's Metadisciple, like disciple, on Twitter, at Metadisciple
Can
on
you spell
Twitter.
it?
Yeah, Metaciple, Metadisciple. So check me out on Twitter, hit my link tree, join our Discords, get yourself some NFTs out there, especially Monster Rehab. Monster Rehab is not getting the rep it deserves. The floor is low, but there's some amazing artwork there, and we've got a lot of utility dropping next month. So it would be great to have a lot of newcomers come into that and join us.
Dope, brother. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you to the listeners. Make sure you go check out all of these projects, the Arabian Camel, the Monster Rehab. Yo, that Monster Rehab does sound really dope. So I'm definitely gonna tap in and make sure to reach out to this brother if you have any questions. He's definitely someone in the space who's very helpful, very knowledgeable. Um, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, peace and
Professor,
love,
can I
y'all.
interrupt you? I just
Oh
messed up
yeah.
your exit there, bro. I apologize.
Oh, what
We're
happened? What's good?
So we just dropped the Order of Shadows, okay? And this
Mhm,
project, this is, I believe this is going to be the next big thing. We're
mhm.
doing the first NFT avatar maker, okay? So you will be able
Okay.
to have Bored Ape in your wallet or CryptoPunk, go to the avatar maker, and because you have those two NFTs in your wallet, you'll be able to create your very own avatar, pick the traits that you want, mint it to the blockchain, boom, brand new. It's not been done before. And when it drops, there's going to be over 1,200 traits there for people to pick and choose from. If you check out my Metadisciple picture on my Twitter, that's an example of the artwork inspired by
Mm,
Oniforce. Huge shout out to those guys as well for the great art that they've made.
mhm.
But thank you. Please check out the NFT Avatar Maker and grab yourself an Order Shadow symbol to use in the Avatar Maker.
Yes, yes. Make sure to hit his links, grab the Order of Shadows, check out the NFT Avatar Maker. And until next time, peace and love, y'all.